So I don't know if any of you guys been listening to some of this off-season 49er talk that's been going around. There's a couple topics I wanted to talk about, but the main one being this silly notion that the 49ers are going to try to make a trade for Tom Brady, or not trade, excuse me, sign Tom Brady to replace Jimmy Garoppolo. There's just so many things wrong with that. If this was the Tom Brady of 10 years ago, I would sign up for it in a heartbeat. But this is the Tom Brady of 2020, and he's 43 years old, and his mobility is probably just as bad as Jimmy's at this point. I mean, Jimmy's maybe a little bit more elusive in the pocket, but I don't know. These news networks, they get a hold of these idiotic stories and they run with it. And if the 49ers were to ever make a move to where they sign a guy like Tom Brady and replace Garoppolo, that would send a really bad message to anybody on that roster. All the people that, all the blood, sweat, and tears they put into it last year. And to put it all on one guy and blame him for the loss, is just ridiculous. I mean, anybody who watched last season, watched games where Garoppolo pretty much won it himself or came close to it. I mean, there's other guys involved, of course. And then there's games where he played poorly. He's inconsistent. He's, to me, like I've said before, he reminds me a lot of Tony Romo. There's times where he'll wow you, and then there's times where you want to punch your television screen. But for this notion that they're going to trade him away and try to get Tom Brady is just ridiculous. Plus, their cap situation right now wouldn't even support a move like that. I mean, you got extensions for Buckner and Kittle coming up. And, you have your draft class coming in. It's not like they have a lot of money to start with. In my previous video, I told you, the cap situation's tight, and they're going to have to make some moves in order to keep as many guys of that core that we had last year as possible. But this notion that they're going to go sign Tom Brady to replace Garoppolo is just asinine. Tom Brady is in the twilight of his career. Garoppolo is not even 30 years old. I understand that a lot of people think that the 49ers are a great quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl, and I'll say this, they're a consistent quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl. But like I said, it was not all on Jimmy. There was a lot of coaching errors, defensively, offensively, among other things, but that's over with. Some of the other things are going around are that I personally am thinking of. The less of a rumor, more of news is there's talk of just my thoughts on the Trent Taylor and Jalen Hurd coming back next year healthy, which to me is wait and see. Trent Taylor's been injured most of his NFL career. I liked him somewhat, but it's hard to get into a guy who's never on the field. That'll be interesting to see. He's still recovering from surgery even now. He's still in a walking boot. He's had I think 5 different surgeries. He had an infection in the surgery area that needed to be redone, and then he had to have something put in to fight the infection right in the foot. So he's got all these issues with his foot, and it'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with him come training camp. Hopefully he'll be ready. There's a lot of talk that, there's talk about Emmanuel Sanders. I'm on the fence with him because he did make some plays down the stretch, but then there's games where he kind of just disappeared. So, honestly, I would like for them to maybe go younger. If they can keep him, if he's able to take like a team-friendly salary, I would say keep the guy. He's good for the young guys and the morale. I definitely still would try to go after another receiver, even if it's like a late-round pick or something like that. I really don't know what the 49ers are going to do in that position. Like I said, and Jalen Hurd isn't even talked about. He's another guy. Hopefully he can come back. He gives the Niners something they haven't had, and that's size. A big body. A lot of their receivers are pretty small. I like to have a guy that can kind of go up and get it. You know what I mean? Like a Michael Thomas body. Guy that just boxes out defenders. And then, like on my previous video, I know this is kind of a rehash, but just the 49ers have a lot of maneuvering to do with the cap in order to kind of keep everybody. It might be an unpopular opinion, but I would try to re-sign Armstead, and I possibly would let Jimmy Ward go. And I know that's going to, be like, what? Jimmy Ward, he had a great year. But the Niners pick in the top of the bottom half of the first or early second, if they can maybe trade back, they really could go get a safety there to plug in. Plus, you have Tavarius Moore going into his second year. I know he had his issues last year with, or not even last year, the year before, but like no, it was this year. He had issues with, taking bad angles on things and whatnot and being out of position. But, they definitely have somebody there who they can go to. And then if you draft somebody, you can't keep everybody. So, I don't know. I just look at Armstead as a more of a valuable piece. I think the Niners, secondary-wise, really need to have an upgrade back there. If they can't re-sign him, maybe look into a free agent corner. I'm trying to think of the guy who I'm talking about, he was a free agent last year, and the Niners offered him money, and he didn't sign. I have to look his name up. I think his name was Bradley Roby. He played for the Texans last year. Previously played for the Denver Broncos. I know the Niners, like I said, they were interested in him last year, but they didn't get him. I'm just throwing a name out there. The fact of the matter is their secondary, to me, is the weak spot in their defense. Their front seven, to me, isn't a problem. The fact that, they'll have everybody healthy, hopefully next year in their linebacking core, it's just another win-win for that. And I just think that secondary, they need speed, and they need some youth back there. I'm a big fan of Emmanuel Mosley, but we got to be honest with ourselves with Richard Sherman. It's he's definitely on the downside of his career, and the Chiefs kind of exposed our weakness in the late fourth quarter, so that'd be definitely something to look at. The Niners' defensive line, I think, is well to do, but I'm not against drafting more late-round defensive players if we can on the defensive line. I think there's always room for that rotation, as we saw this year with all the injuries. We went into the season talking about our depth, and then we were down to like a 6-man rotation. So just a couple topics I had in my mind. A lot of these videos I made recently are kind of been the same, so I'll probably get that from people. But this is the time of year where it's just a lot of questioning and a lot of guessing of what the Niners are going to do. Like I said before, I'm a big fan of this time of year. But it's different coming off of, a good season as opposed to another failed season. And it'd be interesting to see going forward what the 49ers are going to do when it comes to free agency. And if they trade people away for draft picks, who knows? All that stuff is wait and see and yet to come, and I can't wait for it. So definitely just wanted to make a quick little video about what was on my mind, and anything else comes to mind, I'll make another video. So I'll talk to everybody later, and everybody have a great day.